First off, Kevin Hayes left practice early. Is there any status on him?
He's being evaluated for an upper body injury.
He was injured on a collision there. To the naked eye, the physicality of these practices was very apparent. And obviously Kai went out and added guys like Justin Brazeau, Connor Clifton, et cetera, to have physical components to their game. But do you want this team to be physical in nature? I ask because that hasn't been this team's leading characteristic in recent years.
I want this. We want this team to be competitive in nature. I think physicality is part of the game. Like, you hate to see anything like that in practice. You hate to see it in game. You hate to see it, period. And so you don't like seeing that. But we do want to be competitive. And so, obviously, in practice, there's and games. There's a line there, and you got to make sure you're working not to cross that line, and you don't want to see anybody get hurt. And as I mentioned, Kevin's being evaluated, but we do want to be competitive. And I think everybody's competitiveness is going to look a little bit different, and so there's got to be purpose to what you're doing. This isn't just a run around, anything like that. And I don't think that was the case if you look at the 3 practices. I do think that there was purpose to what guys were doing, and we're asking guys to show the best version of their compete, whatever that is. And that's not going to change.
And we talked about the dynamic when you were hired of a guy such as yourself who has a lot of experience working with young players. You also on this team have a bunch of guys in their late 30s who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. It's an interesting dynamic for you as a first-time head coach. What has your relationship been like in the early stages with Sid, Gino, Kris, Eric? What has it been like getting to know them? How comfortable do you feel you are with them so far?
No, I feel comfortable, for sure. I think it's been good. It's a start, though. It's like to come in and say, we've tried to make sure we've had conversations, multiple conversations, throughout the summer, like getting a chance to meet with a great majority of those guys that you mentioned in person, at some point in time. A lot of guys were in town, so that makes it a little bit easier. And so, but now it continues to build. It's like you got to continue those conversations, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not off of, this time, no matter what. Like, we got to continue to build on those, continue to work on those. It's a work in progress, but for them and for the entire group, it's been great getting to know them, and some really good people, some really good human beings.
You worked towards becoming an NHL head coach for 15 years or whatever it was, and I know you had your hands full out there in practice and you're really engaged, but was there a moment out there today where you just kind of allowed yourself to kind of soak that moment in and say, hey, this is happening, here I am, NHL head coach?
Yeah, a little. I mean, you always, I think it's more, honestly, it's just the excitement of training camp. Like yes, obviously it's exciting, and you've been looking forward to this day. I've been looking for this day. I think our staff has been for a long time now, really since the entire staff's come together. And so, like, there's all this preparation that happens, and all these meetings, and all these different things, and you're of course working towards that day one, and that because you got to start with something, and so it's day one. And so, like, I just think of all the meetings I put this staff through, and the ideas that were shared, and so it's exciting more than anything. I think probably the big ones for me is that kind of a combination of skating around with guys like that have been in this league for 20 plus years, and talking a little bit with a couple of them about, like, especially with Malkin and Letang, like, this is their 20th training camp, like how cool is that? And then you turn the next shift, you grab one of the guys that's coming into their first training camp ever. It's like, your first training camp, how cool is this? Like, how lucky are we? It's cool to see their reactions too, and kind of see where they're at. And but I thought, today was a day about just making sure that we, kind of set that foundation and set that groundwork. And there's been a lot of preparation to get ready, not just for today, but for the season. And so I think for everybody on the coaching staff, it's just an excitement that we're getting going. And I thought the players felt the same way too.
Dan, you begin camp with 20-some forwards who could play in the NHL, at least half a dozen right-handed defensemen. How do you find space for everyone to get maybe a fair or an honest look in such a crowded situation?
I mean, we're gonna, there's a lot of players at camp. And we talked about that with the group yesterday. It's like, you can't come in here and like say, hey, all things are equal in terms of ice time and exhibition games. But we are going to do our best to give everybody an opportunity to, at a minimum, earn an impression. And I do feel pretty strongly that, even if you look at today, there was a lot of opportunity out there for guys to go out there and, show what they can do. Like be noticed, and I think that opportunity was there, and we're gonna work to continue to have it there. And so it's a balance of, trying to provide that while setting kind of that, today the big part of it was about setting the foundation for like how we want to practice, how we want to train. There wasn't any systems in there. There was nothing systematic, but there's got to be their habits and details that we feel are important, and use that as a starting point. And then as we go over these next couple of days, now we're going to be building in, a little bit more in terms of, how we want to play, how we want to pressure the puck, how we want to attack. We'll keep building in as we go. But I think throughout that, we're also, we want to see guys. We want to see who's going to, make themselves noticed, and give them that opportunity. And so while I do think it's going to potentially look a little bit different for everybody, I do think that it's going to be there for them.
Talking about making an impression, I know you're in Buffalo for the Prospects Challenge. I just want to know, of those young guys, what were your takeaways? Did anyone stand out in particular?
Well, I think I'll talk about the entire group. I mean, one of the takeaways, I thought they did a really good job in terms of competing. The games were all really different, like in terms of like, what you were seeing. And that happens. That's hockey. Like you go from one game to the next, one opponent to the next. Like the playing style is very different. That Columbus game was very, very physical. They go down and it's like, okay, well, who's going to respond? Like who's going to do something? Who's going to go out there and kind of maybe change the momentum a little bit? And you get to see that. And, it's, for me, it's always interesting to see that, but I thought they did a really good job in terms of like being competitive. And we got a number of those guys in the camp, and so I think there's guys within that group that earned an opportunity to be here that I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. And so rather than actually highlighting any particular ones, since they're here now and continuing to compete, I'll talk about the group as a whole. I thought they did a good job. I thought their coaching staff there, Kirk and his group, did a good job of getting those guys prepared. And I think now you're seeing some of those younger players that are feeling pretty good about where they're at coming into this main camp, which is part of it, definitely part of it.
Kyle Dubas earlier alluded to some pretty long days and long evenings on your part over the last couple weeks. What have these last few weeks looked like for you and your staff as far as laying the groundwork for today, and just what are some of the main things that have occupied your attention as far as preparing for today in camp?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to prioritize. I mean, as a coaching staff, like I think we wanted people that are going to. I don't want to say hard work. It's bring that passion, like love what you're doing. And so when you're doing that, which I think our group does, it might end up being a little bit longer days, and which we've had. But it's been going through everything. It's when you have a new coaching staff like this, there's a lot of conversation because I don't want it. It won't be just about me, about my ideas. Like that's. It's about like us having conversations about the game. It's about us, this time of year you got a whole new coaching staff. It's about, all right, let's try to firm up some of our language, they like adding some of those things too, so there's consistency, and we've talked about everything. We talked about, number one, you go back to development camp, we spend a significant amount of time, during that camp, whenever we weren't watching those players, we were meeting. And so, through that process, we were able to get a starting point. And then, everybody had things to do over the summer. Everybody had projects that they were doing. Everybody had different things that they were looking at. And then you take those things back once we get it together at the end of the summer. And, you have now an opportunity to review it and go over it. And that takes time. And so we're looking at it from a team standpoint. We're looking at it from, the things that are really important to us, because what's important to us might be different. It might be not as important, or not the exact same list as somebody else, and that's fine. We're looking at individuals, going through that. We're looking at special teams. We're looking at, all those things that are going to come up and need to be reviewed and need to be detailed. during training camp that's going to set our base. Practices, how we train. And so it ends up being a lot for sure. But it's also, like I said, it doesn't, at no point they really feel like work. I think we got a group with our coaching staff, and I'd say this with the staff, the whole organization here, people that love the game, that love teaching the game, that love being a part of this, and obviously are very excited to be here and start to kind of build out that foundation for what we're looking to build.
Dan, what's your philosophy when you have a roster filled with players at such various stages of your career? You got guys that are just trying to find a foothold here. You got guys, as Josh said, that are going to the Hall of Fame. When you're new staff, do you try to build a relationship with the veteran guys first and have them sort of maybe try to have it trickle down to the rest of the roster, or do you try to make sure that you kind of spread your time maybe more as evenly as possible?
Oh, I think I would say, definitely, early on, the players that have been here for a long time and have accomplished some amazing things in this game, like leadership group, like I'm reaching out and I'm having maybe a little bit more conversations early on for sure, but on a day-to-day, there's not a checklist that you come in with thinking like I got to go talk to, these players first and then these players next. We want to form relationships with everybody. Like it's across the board. Like that's massive. And as I mentioned before, it takes time. Like everybody, everybody's different. Everybody's going to learn different. Everybody's going to be motivated differently. You got to get to know the person first. And so, as a staff, we're looking to do that with, everybody here. Obviously, a camp like this, there's so many guys that do you get as many those more in-depth conversations with everybody that you want? No. But you do try to make sure to, even here today, just getting to talk to some guys that might be on a PTO, it's important. They're here. They're a part of it. And so, I think I think I speak for the entire staff. It's important. Obviously, the highest amount of respect there for players that have been doing this for a long time in the game, and we want to ask them questions and get their opinion. But we want to be forming relationships and getting to know everybody here.
Back here, Dan. Looking at practice today, I know you talked a lot about trying to show the team how you wanted the Penguins to practice. It looked like there was a lot of competition within that practice. And talking to some of the guys in the room, I think they said score was kept on a lot of the drills, and the losing team had to skate or whatnot in between. Just how much did you want that to be kind of the mindset that you would instill in this team, I guess, right off the bat here in this camp within those drills?
Yeah, no, I love competition. I think everybody loves competition. It just drives things. So that was definitely a part of it. And so, I believe in it. I think these are all competitive guys. It's all of them. They want to win, and it's I've always found it just to be just awesome seeing it at this level, how it doesn't matter what's on the line. If something's there, if it's one push-up, they would be all in to not have to do that one push-up. This group here, I think if I put a cold cheeseburger for the winner, they would be all in to get that cold cheeseburger. Everything, they'd be all in. It's just that's in the nature, and they did a good job with it today. That wasn't, it's you never know until you're actually there. It's the hope that you're going to see the group be all in, and but I wasn't surprised. Yeah, no, they were all in there on the competition, and it's I think it's a big part of it though. It's a big part of what our coaching staff believes in.
What were your impressions of the practice itself, and then what did you think of the energy that not only he but the rest of the coaching staff kind of brought to link to that?
First of all, practice was great. I think it was about kind of establishing an identity and a work ethic. You saw there were quite a few battle drills out there, a lot of competing, keeping score in pretty much every drill, just kind of trying to get that mindset that we're going to compete every day. And I think the energy out there was great. It was kind of contagious. You could see how the coaches were they were all very vocal. They were all in it. They were all banging their sticks. They were all trying to kind of motivate guys, kind of get guys going. And I think everybody out there, from the old guys like me down to the young guys, were out there working hard.
I feel like your name was out there in trade rumors this summer more than in the past. I guess as you get older, that happens. How do you handle that? Do you ignore it? Are you aware of it? Does it bother you at all?
I'm aware of it. I spend my summers in Canada, so I think I heard about it more from other people than I saw it everywhere else. But no, I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of the nature of the business. It's kind of the nature of where this team's at. And obviously I lost my trade protection, so those things are going to start coming out.
You've always said you wanted to stay here forever, and I assume that hasn't changed.
Yeah, plan on playing here till I'm 40. So
40?
Yeah.
What, 8 years old? Right.
it's only 7.
7. Oh, you're getting old, geez. Huh?
Rusty, what gives you optimism about this team? It can maybe surprise, it can do better than other people think it can?
We obviously had the leadership at the top, guys who have won everything there is to win in hockey, and then we got some real young guys who are real eager to continue to make their mark as pros and as NHLers, and then we got guys in the middle who have come here from all different paths, whether it's guys who've been here for a long time like Rax and I, or guys who are kind of coming in newer, trying to kind of make their mark or kind of rebuild their name in this league. I think there's a lot of guys in here who want to accomplish something.
How does the transitional nature, though, of the team and stuff, some of the stuff that Kyle is talking about, of making trades or making changes and young players coming in, how does that affect the guys who have been here in the locker room?
I think it brings a newfound excitement. I think anytime you get a new, it's kind of almost like you're coming to a new team, even though I'm not. Obviously, there's new faces everywhere from almost the entire coaching staff to support staff to players, and when you see all those new faces, it kind of brings that a little bit of that those anxious nerves that kind of you're excited for camp again, and you don't really know what to expect. And I think guys who have been here for a long time, I think that kind of brings out the best in us.
Bryan, does it feel at all weird to be back here without Sully after such a long time with him?
It is a bit weird. He's pretty much the only coach I've known in the NHL except for Mike Johnson for 14 games. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit weird, but kind of like I said, I'm excited for a new chapter, for a new opportunity, kind of see where this team can take it.
Rusty, first of all, congrats on being named to the U.S. orientation campus. What was that experience like, and how can that drive you heading into the season?
Obviously, I was extremely honored. It's something that I've been striving for, and I don't think too many people maybe expect my name to be on there or think I should be on there, but maybe personally I do think that I belong there, and I expect to belong there, and I hope to make that team. Obviously, this team's first and foremost, and I'm a Pittsburgh Penguin first, but obviously that opportunity is kind of once in a lifetime.
Make sure that doing things right out there, and you know what you're trying to get out of the drill. That's the most important thing, and it's a lot of energy, and it was a good first skate.
Have you had a lot of interactions with him since he took over with Muse?
Yeah, a little bit. He's been at the rink a ton. Probably just preparing him and the entire staff. So yeah, I've had some conversations with them, and it's all been really positive, and ultimately he's got to coach the team, and I got to go out there and play hockey and try to lead by example.
Was there anything that surprised you about Dan, Sid? More vocal. Was the pace of the practice roughly the same? I know, you said, some of the drills, they're staples, but anything catch you by surprise?
I think it was loud. It was pretty loud out there. A lot of stick banging and that sort of thing. I don't think that was just Dan, but I think that was just I think the group and just bringing a lot of energy and that sort of thing. So that's what you want. You want that enthusiasm and passion. And I thought, like I said, the pace of practice was really good and a lot of competition within that. So that's what you expect from training camp.
So what is it like seeing Bones on the staff and having him here in that capacity?
It's good. I mean, he's got a lot of experience. I'm almost used to it now just because I've been seeing him around, with him coaching and going over things. So, besides being on the ice with them here today, it's all felt pretty normal. And he's a guy that you could probably always see would be cut out, for being a good coach. He was always, really aware of all the system stuff, really detailed, good communicator, and all those traits are gonna, be important for him as a coach.
Sid, this is not a question about the trade. It's an idea of how people see you guys. And, I know you've had a lot of seasons where there's been a lot of very high expectations, Stanley Cup and all that stuff. It's probably not that right now. How much do you embrace that? Maybe playing, underdog, surprising some people, changing the narrative, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for sure. I think it's just you have different expectations every year, and you try to just focus on, your group and what you want to do and, what you're trying to build off of from the year prior. And, I think there's been a lot of turnover here the last number of years. So, I think that initial focus has been just, trying to get on the same page, making sure that we're organized and that, we're coming together as a group and not necessarily coming off of, a playoff exit or conference final where you want to take that next step. It's a little different. So I think, that challenge is probably similar to what it's been the last few years where, we're just trying to, get our team together and with, coaching change and things like that, just make sure that we're feeling good about ourselves and our game and ready to start the season.
Sid, you talked at the end of last year about how, the losing does not being as successful as you have been historically as a team, that wears on you, wears on a player, especially veteran guys. How do you recharge? How do you, because you look like, and Kyle's been very obvious, you might be in the same sort of position this year that you guys were last year in terms of, at least in the start of the season, you guys sort of in a different place.
We've got lots of cap space, so, we'll see what happens. I'm not, I'm going to let Kyle worry about that. We got to go out there and try to win games. I don't think, I don't think that anybody likes to lose. I think that, we're talking about my situation specifically, but there's 16 other teams that didn't make the playoffs and that aren't happy about it and want to get back there. So, you got to earn that right. So, regardless of what the expectations are, I think whoever's in this room, we got to go out there every night trying to win games. And for certain guys, it's different. Maybe they're trying to establish themselves in the league. For older guys who have been there, they want to get back in the playoffs. But I don't think I look at it in the perspective that you're saying. I think it's about our group, about what we need to do to get there, and let Kyle figure out the other stuff.
How nice maybe to have some of that youthful energy around. So I felt like DLA scored a few goals this morning, and
it's fun.
Having those guys around.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, like I just said, those guys are playing for spots. They. Some of them have had opportunities already, and they've got a little taste of it, and other guys will, be trying to earn their way in. And I think for guys, like me who have been here a little bit longer, I think that's important to have that enthusiasm. And I remember being that guy, and I hope I still somewhat that guy, even though I've been around for a while. So we'll see what happens.
Sid, I've been over at the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers has talked about, he's been pretty upfront that this is probably his last year. You're not in that position in any stretch. However, you have fewer in front of you than you do behind you, right? Does your enjoyment of this time of year, has it changed? Has it shifted at all because you maybe understand that the time is a little more precious than it used to be?
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think you definitely realize that with every year, and I think you try to embrace as best you can. You can't be all reflective and think about that when you're getting skated laps in training camp. But I think at the same time, you definitely, I think what you're saying is really true. You do try to take it in a little bit more. Training camp's always an awesome time of year because everyone's so happy to be back together and, fresh start. So, I don't think that changes. But, I would say, I'd agree that you definitely try to embrace it a little bit more.
You mentioned the new faces. How many of these guys, we saw your group put together. How many of those guys did you actually, familiar with before you even got on the ice today?
A little bit, just because a lot of guys are here early, so that helps. It helps when, you have some skates together prior to this. And, I think, that's the nice part about having a couple weeks together is just get to know everybody and as best you can with the numbers that we have. But some guys, would have, like Philly would have been up for a little bit last year, so it helps, and picks and guys that played a little bit last year. But, the newer guys, Bruno was here early last year. I think just, trying to enjoy it, but also, trying to become a team right from day one.
I want to ask what your reaction was to the news that Fleury is going to be around a little bit during camp and playing the game.
Pretty excited, honestly. It was always weird to see him in different colors, and I guarantee if it was not for an expansion team, he would probably finish his career here. And to have him play his last not a regular season game, but his final game with the black and gold will be pretty emotional for everybody. I can imagine.
You worried about pranks or thinking of any of your
No.
own?
No, because he's gonna be in the room too, so he has to be aware. You know, it might be his turn to pay this time around.
Do you expect to play in that game?
I would imagine that all three of us should play. You know, it's gonna be a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So I imagine we do.
First practice with Dan Muse, I guess, what are your impressions of A, the practice itself, and then B, just kind of the energy and
Oh yeah, you could feel it. The energy is through the roof. Obviously, we're a team. We're in a situation where there's every spot is for grabs. You know, so the young guys are ready. They want to battle. They want to make a name for themselves. And also, you kind of see the emphasis on what we're trying to do out there is battle and play a game situation in every single drill. So, yeah, it was pretty intense out there. It was pretty hard.
Kris, how was your off season? Just how are you feeling physically here on day one of camp?
Feel pretty good. Off season was obviously longer than expected, as always. But you know, I trained the same way I did in the past and got ready for the season.
Kris, how does it just feel to be back after having the surgery, and how does it feel to just kind of have that out of the way too?
Yeah, no, it was something that, you know, it's been on the radar for multiple years. It's just that, you know, technology and science actually evolves every single year. So to take that decision took time, but I think at the end of the day, we're looking long term instead of looking just day to day. So I'm glad it's behind me, and you know, I feel really, really good.
Kris, how's Dan different? You know, what's your interactions going to be like?
I mean, every single coach is different. How different? I mean, they're pretty passionate. Both they bring a level of energy. You know, it's a new voice. Sometimes it's different. You know, like last night, I think I came and grabbed dinner here at the rink, and when I left, I think it was 8 o'clock, and Dan was still on his computer, working on some stuff. So there you go. You see the passion he has for the game, and trying to you know, work on every little detail to make us better and improve every single guy out there. So. I think the attention to details, intensity, emotion, they're things that you know, he brings every single day.
Kris, is it going to be weird at all after so long with Sully to not have him around and you're going to see him so early twice?
Yeah, I mean, if you know, it's not my first time I have a new coach, so the first time when you have somebody for so long, it feels weird, but you know, you have to be able to put that to the side, and you know, whoever is your coach, you have to do whatever it takes to make your team better. But at the same time, he's going to demand different things from you, and you have to work on those things. He might see the game differently than Sully did, and it might open your eyes on different things. So I've said in the past, every single coach, whether you like him or not, at the end of the day, they bring you something to make you a better professional, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. So I'm excited to learn new things.
I wanted to ask, first of all, like how you heard about the trade and just what your thoughts were on coming to Pittsburgh and what you're sort of looking forward to most about this opportunity ahead.
Yeah, I felt it's a great thing for me, you know, having an opportunity to play, because like, I mean, it's been tough, you know, it's like been tough rotating with the 3 goalies down there, and I think it's a final opportunity to play in the NHL, and yeah, I just want to seize it and do my best.
What clicked so well for you with Abbotsford, particularly in the playoffs? I mean, those are some historic numbers you put up.
I mean, we grew up a lot with those players, and I think it just like we had already like a connection, and I think like the tougher it went, the more connection and the bond we had as a team and as a group. And I think, you know, like standing up for each other, you know, like it doesn't matter we win or lose, we're just keeping going forward. And yeah, I think it's just like how we grew as a group in the playoffs. That's like one of the reasons why we managed to win.
You've had some time in the NHL and bouncing between AHL and American League roster. How do you stay in the NHL? Like, how do you be consistent enough to stay here on a regular basis?
I think it's always like adjusting your game, adjusting like the way the other teams play. It's always like for a goaltender, I think it's always like an adjustment game. It's like it never ends. You try to build every single day, and yeah, you just like do it one day at a time.
What are your just initial impressions of the organization and the locker room that you're walking into here?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Like, just seeing like practice facility, like the way everyone's like so professional here and welcoming, and it's like great to be here around the guys, working hard and yeah, it's been a pleasure and fun so far.
Kyle said he sees this as an open competition with all the goalies. Is that how you kind of view this? And there's a lot of guys here with good credentials, including yourself, good resumes. Like, just how do you approach this challenge here in terms of?
I just focus on myself, like do my stuff, practice with my details of the game. It's like it doesn't really matter what other guys do. Like for me, it's just like focus on myself and that's it.
Arturs, I know you kind of talked about the Calder Cup win, but for you to be named playoff MVP, just what did that mean to you, knowing that you played such a big part in it?
For me, it's like being that last guy for the team. So many things can happen. D-men can fall, everyone can fall down, and just giving that safety net for the guys, I think that's really important. And on the bench they said it's a breakaway, and it's like he got this, no problem, he makes a save, we're gonna score. I think I just look at that kind of mentality, and I think that's the way to go.
When did the Artie party start, and do you want to bring that here?
Sure. It happened I think 2, maybe 3 years ago, and yeah, if it carries on, it's great.
I do want to ask you about representing your country and just what that has been like for you as of late, and especially at the World Championship.
Like representing countries, I think one of the best feelings. We had, I think, tournament. Yeah, we had a tournament back at home, and it was like such a good energy all around. Doesn't matter the score, doesn't matter the way we play, but they're like always behind us, and I think that's like the way they translated the energy to us, and I think it's like helped us so much in so many like tough moments. Yeah, and I think it's just a pleasure playing for the crowd like that.